We are joined now by LSU wide receivers coach and co-offensive coordinator Cortez Hankton Jr. Cortez, you are headed to Detroit. Going to have a very fun week next week because you're going to be in the green room. And your LSU Tigers have three dudes in the green room, including two guys from your position room, Malik Nabers and Brian Thomas Jr. What is this like getting ready to watch those guys get drafted?
Well, first off, it's an exciting time for LSU football. You know, to have three caliber players of that nature, to be able to be in Detroit as a first-round prospect is huge. And for me, it's been a blessing to coach two of the most talented receivers in the nation, man. And they were a joy to coach. They were a joy to watch on the sideline making plays. And I'm excited and happy for both of them.
So you came in with Brian Kelly when he took over. You'd been at Georgia, so you've obviously been coaching some really good receivers there as well. But when you get a hold of Malik and Brian, when you first start seeing them at practice, what jumped out about each guy?
Well, I had a little history with the both of them because I recruited them coming out of high school. And so I was familiar with their skill set. Malik was always ultra competitive. He was the guy to play the game with a chip on his shoulder. You know, there is this way about him that he can will himself to make a play. Brian Thomas is probably the most gifted athlete that I ever coached and also has high football intelligence. And so when you are blessed to coach those guys, they make your job a lot easier.
Now, Jayden Daniels also obviously the other guy who's going to be in there, the Heisman Trophy winner. But I think about these three guys. This is a case where we knew all of them were good that first year you guys were with them, but it felt like they took just a huge step in between year one and year two with the new staff. What happened and how did you kind of see that growth in the offseason last year?
Well, I think it's a couple of things. One, it's taking ownership and growth in the offense. Also, it's building a chemistry in the offseason, working out together. I think those guys did a great job of getting better on their own time and not just when we're out there practicing and working out. And I think they all knew what they were playing for. You know, every year at this place, you want to compete to play for a national championship. You know, in the midst of that, they made a lot of plays, and we had a hell of offense.
So we talked to the draft people, and they're all saying, okay, we don't know if it's going to be Malik or if it's going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. or Rome Odunze. Do you feel competitive for your guy on that front, or does it matter? I mean, you've played in the NFL.
Absolutely. Now, let me say this. I think that this is one of the more talented draft class from the receiver positions that we've seen in a long time. I mean, the guys that are in this draft, they can go. But, you know, with Malik or BT, I think those guys are the upper echelon. And when you just watch the tape, I think it proves that.
And in terms of guys you coach, like you also might have Ladd McConkey in this draft. And well, you're definitely going to have him somewhere in the draft. It just depends on where. What is it like, you know, and you've done this at Dartmouth, at Vanderbilt, at Georgia, now at LSU, when you see these guys grow, mature, and finally do get that chance to go into the league?
Well, for me, especially with Ladd, because, you know, he's a young man that fights against the odds. Blue chip mentality, blue collar, didn't have a whole lot going on coming out of high school, but he was ultra competitive. And he believed that he could compete at the highest level, and he proved that with every opportunity that he got. And what I mean to tell you, like, he is a guy that every day he walks into that building, he has it on his mind to make a point and prove people wrong. And so I love that about this young man.
And you guys were all over him at Georgia. I mean, others weren't, but I remember reading the stories about Kirby Smart, you know, going to his high school and kind of camping out and saying, no, I don't care what y'all think about this guy. We love this guy.
Yeah, trust guys. You know, ultimately what it comes down to is the evaluation of not only the skill set, but the redeeming qualities of a young man. You know, you see him play multiple sports. I remember being at a basketball game, and his team was down like 11 points in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter of a game. And, I mean, they made a bunch of plays, tied it up, going to overtime, and then they win it. And he was a leader of that team. And so that in itself showed me his competitive nature, his will to fight for his team, and also to lead them to a victory.
Go to FanDuel.com/Staples, the best sports book in America. Get $150 in bonus bets with your first $5 bet. One of the things that FanDuel recently dropped, odds for your favorite college football team to make the 12-team college football playoff. The dynamics of this are so different this year. All of these odds before, to make the 4-team, it felt like it was a little easier to figure out. This one, it's tricky. And so, like, if you're going to try Ohio State, that they are a prohibitive favorite to make it. But there's some other ones, Tennessee, Ole Miss, where we think there's a good chance they can make it, but we don't know, because we don't know who else in the SEC could have 10 wins. Because really, that's the magic number if you're in the SEC or the Big Ten. You can get 10 wins, there's a really good chance you're in. So check those out on FanDuel's app. It is fascinating to see those numbers. And also, you got the NBA playoffs beginning. You got WNBA games. There's a lot of action out there on FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com/Staples. First $5 bet. If you're a new customer, get you $150 in bonus bets. So you mentioned Brian Thomas, and you know, Malik's been getting a lot of the headlines, obviously, because there is that competition for wide receiver 1 in this draft. But Brian is probably a first-round pick. He's invited to the green room, one of only 13 people in the green room. We say he's the maybe the best athlete you've ever coached. What was the first kind of wow moment for you, either at practice or in a game?
Well, I'll go back to when he was in high school. I had an opportunity to go watch him play at a basketball game, and I was so impressed by how somebody that big can move the way that he can move. Real fluid. I'm just a smooth athlete, and everything that he does, he just makes it look effortless. You know, I mean, and I think that's why people were wowed by his speed, because it looks like it doesn't take him much effort to run fast, but that's just who he is.
So when you get the receiver's job at LSU, how quickly do you hear from some of these guys that are in the league now? Because the legacy of LSU receivers, especially recently, is just incredible with, you know, Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. I mean, how quickly do you hear from those guys, and how often do your players hear from those guys?
Well, it's interesting because, you know, the tradition is really rich when it comes to playing receiver at LSU. I mean, the history speaks for itself, and it's ironic just the duos that played together. You know, you go back to Odell and Jarvis, Jamar and Jets, and now just more recently Malik and BT. And I mean, all of those guys put up big numbers. And the former 4 have had good NFL careers, and I'm looking for these two dudes to do the same thing.
And that's the thing. And I remember when Jarvis and Odell were playing together. Right? It was, you know, Zach Mettenberger's throwing him the ball, and you thought, okay, when they get to the NFL, it'll be a weird situation, because usually you go to the NFL and the other receivers on your team are better than the ones you played with in college. In this case, they're not better than the duo, and you think, okay, will these guys drop off? No, not a single one of them dropped off.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's actually part of the sell when it comes to our recruiting is, look, we want to make this room as close to a Sunday room as possible. And so when you get to that point and you're playing at the highest level, the competition, you know, you're used to it, because these are the same type of guys that you were used to competing with day in, day out.
So you're using that in recruiting, obviously, but how much with the current players, the guys who played with BT and who played with Malik, how much is this motivating them? As you know, you just finished spring practice. I'm sure you're talking to them as they go into off-season workouts. How much does seeing this motivate them?
I mean, it motivates them on a couple of different fronts. First, they get to see their brothers achieve things and about to achieve something that is, you know, we're talking about the 1%. And they also know that there's a lot of production that walked out of the room, and this is their moment. This is their time to compete for the same opportunities. And so they're excited for them, but they're also excited for themselves, because now they get an opportunity to show exactly what they can do.
And you guys just wrapped spring practice. How did you feel that group progressed? I mean, Kyron Lacey, we've seen him obviously, but I'm sure there's some younger guys now that as you mentioned, are ready to kind of take the baton.
Well, it's interesting because when you're in year 3 of the offense, everything just becomes more efficient, right? Guys know what to do. They understand conceptually what you're trying to accomplish, and so it tends to run a little bit smoother. And so it was almost like we picked off right where we left off. The guys were still explosive. We were making plays. The young guys have a better feel for what we're doing offensively, so they were able to play with confidence. And so it was really good to see. We got a talented group.
And you guys are in the rare position of having a starting quarterback who has waited his turn at the school. So, like, these guys have been catching passes from Garrett Nussmeier for a long time now.
Yeah, and that also means a lot, because they have trust in this young man because they played with him. They've competed with him, practiced with him, and so they know him. And that you have built-in chemistry just from the time that has already been spent. So that's huge. It's been huge for us.
So what was it like for you? You're a New Orleans native. You went to Texas Southern. You and Michael Strahan, the two big alums.
Which and here's what's crazy. He's finally getting inducted into the Texas Southern Hall of Fame this year. So, yeah.
Could he just not make it before?
Let's just say we had a little catching up to do.
But were they like, Michael, you had a good pro career, but we need to see if you can host a morning show on a major network television.
It's a hard, tough group, man. Hard, tough group. But I'm excited for it.
That is incredible. But as a guy who grew up in New Orleans, what is it like when you get the call to come coach at LSU?
Well, it's a little surreal, and for me, I haven't lived in the state of Louisiana since 1998. And so coming back 22, man, it was awesome. And you don't really realize how much you miss it until you come back, whether it's the culture, the community, the food. You put on weight fast, so you got to watch yourself. But just being and having an opportunity to coach in Death Valley, where we watch so many greats play, Saturday night and play at a high level. And so for me, man, it's been awesome. It's awesome to have my kids, my sons, to be close to my parents and our family. It's just been an amazing experience.
And we were talking before we started recording about your high school, St. Augustine, that, the Honey Badger, Leonard Fournette, just an unbelievable line of great players that came from there. When you walk into your alma mater or another high school in New Orleans, how much does it help having grown up in that atmosphere and being able to say, hey, I've been in your shoes?
Yeah, well, I think at the foundation of St. Aug, what it teaches is brotherhood and discipline. And so there's also this natural competition that occurs within those hallways that allows the guys to push each other. And so when you having those conversations with them and you talk about your journey, you talk about your path, I think it resonates because they want to be where you are. And so for me, I'm thankful for that journey. And I'm always hopeful for the guys that are currently walking through those hallways to do some good things.
Now, where you're going to be next Thursday night is the draft green room. That is a very high profile place. Lots of cameras, lots of eyes. Do we have our suit ready yet?
Oh, we ready. We ready. Malik and BT, they're both ready. And look, so here's the deal. It all started off last year before the season started. And let's say on the Tiger Walk, the boys, they dress to impress.
Right.
And so, and so I try to compete with them a little bit. Well, Malik, basically, we make a deal. Yeah, he says, Coach, if I go first round, are you gonna hook me up? Are you gonna buy me a suit? And without a doubt, I said, man, look, you do that, we're gonna get it done. And so he made it happen, had a big year, and so I made sure I held up to my end of the deal. And in the midst of that, I said, you know what, BT, since you joining the party, then we're gonna go ahead and hook you up too. So shout out to Johnny Mac Taylor that's been hooking me up for a while. It has taken care of those guys, and man, I'm looking forward to how good they're gonna look in their draft suits.
So this will be no 2003 NBA draft.
No, we're not gonna have a big
fabric. This is gonna look good.
Like my guys from New Orleans. No, we're not gonna have the big Wody suits. We're gonna have some clean, tailored, Italian tapered, type fashion going on draft day.
Beautiful. Cannot wait for. I don't know if the draft has a tunnel walk, but the green room is the fashion show. So we are ready for that. Cannot wait to see where those guys end up. And Imagine you get back to Baton Rouge and can tell those dudes playing for you now. See where they are? You just got to work like them.
That's right. You know it. Hey, they're living proof. They're living proof.
Well, Cortez, thank you so much, and have fun next week.
Thank you, Andy. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, subscribe to this channel right here so you never miss an episode of Andy Staples On 3. And oh, by the way, watch all the other great videos on the On3 Sports YouTube channel.